Hello, I'm Dr. Will Keim, and I want to thank you for including me of this year's version of Circle of Change, a premier leadership development conference in America. I want to thank Cal State University Dominguez Hills for hosting us on their lovely campus. Their students in particular, student affairs staff and faculty have been very generous in supporting this conference. We also have some prestige sponsors this year. UPS is paying it forward by reaching out to tomorrow's leaders today. When you send things home after the school year or to the campuses that you're going to be attending, I want you to remember to use UPS. And also they have a wonderful package delivery service for the holidays. UPS, taking care of you today, you take care of them tomorrow. We also want to thank the Arrowhead Credit Union, who understands the importance of financial literacy for students and is trying to teach you the importance of savings now and taking care of your money. It's not about how much money you make, it's how much you get to keep. Also, Chipotle Mexican Grill. Can't you just envision one of those handmade burritos right now? I can, it makes me hungry. Jack in the Box, some of the most creative ads in recent memory for young people. When I think back on my history in Southern California, I think back of Jack in the Box tacos, a very fond memory. Jack in the Box, one of our sponsors today. Mattel, a great company producing a lot of entertainment and a lot of toys and a lot of services for young people. Mattel's with us today. And also, we're running up a list now of 10 individuals who've been very supportive of this conference, who've given their time and energy to make this happen. Thank you to our corporate sponsors, and thank you to our individuals who care about students and want to make sure that they have quality leadership development conferences to attend. And thank you for attending. I'm not with you this weekend because I'm at home. It's Dad's weekend at Oregon State, and my son and daughter, the twins, JJ and Hannah, have invited me to a series of brunches and a series of football games and wonderful activities on campus. But I did want to be with you, and I asked Mark Hartley, my dear friend, former mentee and now protege and colleague. I said, Mark, let me make a video and be part of this, and he said, fine. You've got some great speakers, including 14-time National Speaker of the Year David Coleman with you. You've got Delatorio McNeil. You have some wonderful people there. Ilaria Pesco, one of the finest student affairs administrators in the country. Joshua Friedenberg, who birthed this idea with Mark Hartley, he said, we need to provide a place where students can come, meet corporate leaders, learn about leadership and the keys to success. Joshua, well done. Isn't it wonderful that your dream has become a reality? I want to talk to you today about leadership. And I want to talk to you about the 10 keys to success in college and life that will help you become leaders. First of all, let's start with a definition of leadership, and let's go to somebody who was a leader. I don't generally like to read things written by ivory tower academics who've never been out into the real world. So we're going to start with Dr. John Gardner. Dr. John Gardner was a combat decorated Marine in World War II. He came home and got his PhD from the University of California, Berkeley. Then he founded Common Cause. He was Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare, taught at the Hoover Institute at Stanford University, and when he passed away, he was on the board of directors of 10 Fortune 100 companies. Dr. Gardner led on the corporate world, he led on the battlefield, he led in education, he led in government. He's a real guy, and here's what he said. Leadership is the process of persuasion and example by which an individual or leadership team induces a group to take action that is in accord with the leader's purposes or the shared purposes of all. Again, leadership is the process of persuasion and example by which an individual or leadership team induces a group to take action that is in accord with the leader's purposes or the shared purposes of all. The reason I say that so quickly is your brain can take in 750 words a minute. The problem with most of our professors, God bless them, is that they speak at about 250 to 300, which is why every 7 minutes your head goes sex, or your head goes Justin Bieber, or your head goes Celine. The fact is, I'm going to speak quickly, you keep up. Leadership is the process of persuasion and example by which an individual or leadership team induces a group to take action that is in accord with the leader's purposes or the shared purposes of all. Work through this with me right now. Leadership is the, say it with me, process. That's right, leadership is a process, it's not a person. Quit waiting for people in your state capitals or Washington, D.C. to solve your problems. Most problems are solved from the grassroots up. The German government didn't say, hey, let's take down the Berlin Wall, it's blocking our view. The people of Germany said it's time for United Germany. The reality is most great things. Gandhi with the Great March to the Sea for salt. Dr. Martin Luther King with the great social protest movement. It starts with an individual having a dream and deciding to be part of the process. And by the way, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about your predecessors. Less than 30% of the 18 to 24-year-olds voted in the last election. If you're eligible to vote and you don't vote, you're sacrificing your rights. Further, the reason politicians tend to listen to people my age, I'm almost 60, is because we all vote. You don't vote, so they turn your scholarships into loans. They continue to cut money for education. The teachers are asked to do more with less. One of the teachers at the local high school here, in a shop class where there are machines that could cut your hand off, he's got 41 kids in his shop class. What a liability-rich event that is, because we don't spend enough money on education, because the people mostly concerned, you, the consumers, don't demand that you're treated with justice and fairness. So get involved in the process. If anybody in your organization complains, I want you to give them a job. Well, none of my children complain. You know why? Because when they complain, they get a job. Dad, the dog pooped on the carpet. Thank you for cleaning it up, son. Your mother will appreciate that. My kids now, they look at me, they see something that needs to be picked up, something that needs to be done, and they just do it. Get involved in the process. The next time someone on your campus complains about something and says, I think the food at the last party was absolutely terrible, I want you to say, will you serve as the chairman of the food committee for the next event? They'll go, I didn't know we had one. You'll say, we do now, and you're in charge. That way, either people will either fix what's wrong, or they will shut up and quit complaining. And either way, as a leader, you'll be blessed. Leadership is the process. Number two, leadership is the process of persuasion. Persuasion means getting people to do what you want them to do that's in their own best interest and having them think it's their own idea. Therefore, by definition, leaders have to be humble. Leaders have to know the analogy that Collins talked about, and you check with the corporate leaders that are in the room today, and you have several of them. They will all know the book, Good to Great by Collins. And in that book, Collins says, great leaders know the analogy of the window and the mirror. Great leaders know when everything's going well, they look out the window and they give credit to everybody they see. And great leaders also know that when things don't go well, they look in the mirror and accept responsibility. By definition, great leaders have to be persuasive, getting people to do what they want them to do that's in their own best interest and having them think it's their own idea. Leadership is the process of persuasion and example, because there's no substitute for leadership by example. Quit looking to other people as examples and look in the mirror. Are you being the organizational leader you need to be? Do you have a resume? Do you have a business card with you today? Are you a good role model for your younger brothers and sisters at home? Are you the kind of person somebody following you would want to be? That's what true leadership is. Leadership is the process of persuasion and example by which an individual or leadership team induces a group to take action, not reaction, not waiting for opportunity to knock. You know, it's interesting. I've talked to Mark Hartley a lot about this. You know, we've both concluded that the harder we work, the luckier we get. No substitute for action, but you have to induce action. A year ago, I weighed 140 pounds more than I weigh right now. 140 pounds more. And why? I kind of got lazy. I'd feel sorry for myself. I'd eat a pizza at 12 o'clock when I'd go back east. Maybe I'd have a glass of wine more than I needed. But the reality is I needed to induce action. I'd be good all day. I'd be good all day, and then at 11 o'clock at night, Satan would call me from the cookie drawer. Satan, he'd say, eat me. I'd say, no, get behind me. He'd say, eat me. I'd go over and grab a handful of cookies, get a half gallon of milk, eat them, drink them, lay down so the calories could go directly to my butt. Was I inducing action that I wanted? No. And finally one day, my granddaughter, who I love dearly, Addie, fell down, and I tried to rock myself and get up, but my 80-year-old mother-in-law got there before me, and I realized that's not the grandpa I wanted to be. Inducing means setting up a set of circumstances in which what you want to have happen is likely to happen. I got on a program called MetaFast and Take Shape for Life, and the reality is I feel great, I've got more energy, and as anybody that's in the room with you right now can tell you, I look a lot better, I feel a lot better, and my energy level's through the ceiling. Are you behaving in a manner consistent with what you want to have happen? Did you come here with a resume, because there's corporate leaders in the room? Do you have a business card with you? Are you doing your homework? Because if you want a good job, if you want a good position, getting a job is a full-time job, and you've got to get busy. Leadership is the process of persuasion and example by which an individual or leadership team induces a group to take action that is in accord with the leader's purposes or the shared purposes of all. Every one of the great companies that have sponsored this event, Circle of Change, have a mission statement. And they stick to it. And out of that mission statement, they have goals. And to back up those goals, they have objectives. And the one thing the corporate people know that we need to learn at the university is, along with a mission statement, goals, and objectives, which you could have as an individual, they have a timeline, a date. that they put down on the paper. We're going to accomplish these things by this time. You need to do that as you prepare to leave college and go out into the world. And that's what Circle of Change is really about. It's about getting you ready to go into the world and build genuine community with other people, build successful businesses, make a contribution to the betterment of yourself, your city, your state, nation, and your world. That's why Circle of Change is such a great conference. It's preparing you to set the banquet table for the glorious feast you're going to eat the rest of your life. Now, 10 characteristics, just 10 characteristics. If you'll do these things, you'll become a leader. And by the way, do you want to be a leader? I want to hear an answer. Do you want to be a leader? Because if you're not the lead dog in a sled dog team, the view is always the same. Do you know what you're looking at? That's right. You're looking at somebody else's backside as they pass you towards the things that you thought you really wanted or that you needed. 10 things that I want you to think about. 10 keys to success in college and life will prepare you to become a leader. Number one, the most important thing you need to do as a student is to become a scholar, to study, to go to class, sit in the front row, take notes, take your notes home at the end of the day and recopy them in outline form. Why? Because then at the end of the term, when you're tired, you'll have 25 pages of outline notes instead of 50 pages of notes you can't decipher. Go meet every professor. Make sure they're grading a name and not a social security number. You all need to become better consumers of the product education. You need to be a scholar to the best of your ability, sitting in the front row, going to office hours, showing the professor that you have a vested interest in being an active participant in your education. Number two, you want to be a leader, you need to learn to serve the community. There was a very wise coach one time that told me leadership is a lot like tennis. I said, how's that, coach? He said, both of them largely are basically determined by how well you serve. How well you serve determines how well you do in tennis and how well you do in life. I never was so proud to be a student athlete as when I went over to an old folks home and there was a group of baseball players and I asked them, I said, what are you guys doing? And they said, nothing. I said, are you guys hitting on old ladies? Because that is sick and wrong. And they said, no, don't tell the football guys, Dr. Kime, but every year we come over here, our team, and the night before Valentine's Day, and we dance with the old ladies. Now, how sweet is that? Those old women would get so excited to see those athletes, they put extra blue in their hair. The reality is, I took a group of students one time, residential life students, to a campus of elementary school children. Everybody paired up except this one little stinky girl. And she goes, do you want to play basketball? I could smell her from 10 feet, and I said, sure, let me teach you about a zone defense. Go over there. And then I got to feeling bad about that. So I said, come over here, and I taught her how to dribble, and I taught her how to shoot a free throw. And after we got done, I said, I have to leave now. Thanks for playing with me. And she said, how about a hug? And I go, oh, so I hugged her, and I looked over, and the principal was crying. And I said, seriously, it was a shoulder hug. All hands were on deck. And she said, no, that little girl's a homeless girl. She lives under the Mackenzie River Bridge with her mother. This time of year, she doesn't get to bathe. Nobody will play with her. Thank you. This isn't about me. This is about her. This is about how much need is in your community. You want to be a leader? Serve others. You can look it up in the Bible, the Talmud, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran. You could look it up in the teachings of the Tao Te Ching. Every major world religion will tell you, as you give it to others, it will come back 100-fold. Give it away, it comes back. Your number one job to be a leader is to study, because it really isn't who you know, it's what you know. And you ask the people from UPS, you check with the people from Mattel, you ask the people from our sponsors today. Everybody says, oh, it's not what you know, it's who you know. No, it's what you know, then who you know, because they're not going to open a door to you if you don't know anything. You need to study. You need to serve people. You need to reach out to them. I support a little girl, my family and I, in Sierra Leone. Her name is Massa Sama. She's Muslim. I'm Christian. I could care less. Massa Sama's dad works full time, and he's doing a great job. He's feeding his family. He's got a roof over their head. He had a great crop year. He just wrote me a letter which was translated, and they had a great crop year. But you know what he said to me? He said, you must be the richest man in America. And I wrote him back and I said, why? He goes, who could afford to give somebody they don't know $25? Do you understand your $25 allows Massa and her brother to go to school and have uniforms and get books? $25, I spend more than that on a really good pizza. $25. Again, you know why? Her dad works full-time and makes $187 a year. Full-time, hard-working man taking care of his family. We need to pull back a little bit and realize that we have a responsibility, not just on our campuses, but in our city, state, nation, and world. We're going to study. We're going to serve. Number three, we're going to make peace with people, regardless of race, creed, color, national orientation, or sexual orientation. This week, at my home in Corvallis, Oregon, we buried a young man from Philomath, Oregon, who was killed in Afghanistan in a suicide bombing attack. A group of people who call themselves Christians from another state said they were going to show up and protest at his funeral because they belong to a group who has a website called GodHatesFags.com. Really? That's their interpretation of Jesus' message, to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I've been so proud, and you should be proud, because your students and their students, 2,000 Oregon State students, walked the 6 blocks down to the place where they were having the memorial service and put a human shield around the place so that those parents could grieve the loss of their son and not be harassed by people who think they're doing something on behalf of the Prince of Peace. We need to make peace with people regardless of race, creed, color, national orientation, or sexual orientation. There's not one of you in that room, nor I, who are living our lives so righteously we should judge others. There was a Jewish kid, he lived 20 centuries ago. He got pretty famous for a while, even though he was put to death, a horrible death. But the reality is this Jewish kid once stood on a mountain in front of 10,000 people. Can you imagine that? And they said, "What are your teachings?" Well, he said, "Love God and love your neighbor as you love yourself." They said, "Anything else?" He said, "Yeah, blessed are the peacemakers." You might know that guy as Jesus. Some of you call him Jesus. The reality is, blessed are the peacemakers. Make peace with people, starting with yourself. So I'm going to study. I'm going to serve. I'm going to be a peacemaker. Number 4, I'm going to be a person of character. Say what you mean, do what you say, and when you don't, admit it. If you tell UPS you're going to be there at 8, show up at 7:45. Why? Because on time is late and early is on time. Did you hear that? On time is late and early is on time. Say what you mean. Did you tell your boyfriends and girlfriends at home you'd be faithful to them while you came to Circle of Change? Then be faithful to them. Did you tell your coaches you'd run 20 wind sprints? Did you tell your mom you'd call this weekend? Did you tell grandma you'd finally come visit her? We need men and women of character. Try this with a professor. "Dr. Johnson, I didn't get my homework done." He'll say, "Why not, Seth?" "Well, to be honest with you, I met a woman. I saw her at Circle of Change. I called her up. She was at a campus near mine. I took her to our volleyball game. We have a nationally ranked program. It was fantastic. I talked to her for 7 hours. It seemed like 15 minutes. I looked into her eyes, Professor, and I swear to you, I saw my unborn children. I mismanaged my time. I'll get my paper in tomorrow. I know you'll take points off because it's late. I accept full responsibility." My goodness. After the professor gets up off the ground, you'll get extra credit. But we never do that. We go, "Professor, I didn't get my homework done." Professor says, "Why not, Seth?" "Well, because a pterodactyl flew down from the top of Big Bear and pooped on my assignment." Really? Do you think your professors haven't heard every good excuse? Say what you mean, do what you say, and when you don't, admit it. That's called character. You're studying. You're serving, okay? You're making peace with people. You're being men of character. Number 5, I want you to be healthy. By the way, health is my code word for sex. I want you to be sexually responsible. By the authority vested in me by me, I'm giving you permission not to have sex. It's all right not to have sex. I know some of you are shocked by that reality, living in the culture and society in which we live, but none of you pray like this. "Dear God, / Big Bang Theory," remember, I was being inclusive. "Dear God, I want to get married someday. I want her to be really smart. I want her to want to have a family as well as have a career. And one more thing, Lord, I want her to have slept with at least 6 football players, 3 linemen, 2 guys from the skill positions, and a kicker." When I said that at Alabama, the kicker went, "Woohoo!" because nobody likes the kickers. Here's the deal. It's okay not to have sex. Unless you can accept somebody practicing with your future partner tonight, why are you trying to practice with someone else's? Not having sex is a great way not to get sexually transmitted diseases. It's a great way not to get pregnant. It's a great way not to get STDs. It's a great way not to walk around on some of your campuses, which are small, with regrettable experiences. The reality is, I wish you'd wait until you're married. But if you don't, practice safer sex. Take care of yourself. Sadly, I must tell you that all of you will attend the funeral of somebody in your lifetime that dies of HIV and AIDS because they didn't practice safer sex, or, more importantly, abstain. I want you to be healthy and sexually responsible. Number 6, I want you to be spiritual. I want you to be spiritual men and women. Behind me, you can see some beautiful trees in my backyard. Beyond that, the farmlands of Oregon State. We're an agricultural, scientific, research-oriented university. You might be able to see Mary's Peak, which is the highest point in the Coast Range. You don't have to be Christian or Jewish or Muslim or Buddhist. If you're an agnostic or atheist, that's fine. But I want you to find something larger than yourself to believe in and devote some of you, go find a tree. Walk up to one of the old growth trees and say, hey, I'm greater than you are. And the tree will say, I poop bigger pine cones than you. It puts you in perspective, okay? It doesn't matter. But find something in life larger than yourself to believe in. Find something spiritual about your day-to-day life. And I think you'll find a little bit more meaning in that which you do and the person that you're becoming. I want you, after you are spiritual, I want you, number 7, to be free from dependence on alcohol and other drugs. I'm not asking you to be saints, but I'm going to tell you this. If you're under 21, it's legal for you not to drink. I know it's a tough concept. But if you're over 21, I want you to practice low or no risk drinking. Alcohol is the #1 killer of men and women 15 to 24. You know what number 2 is? Falls. 22,000 people are killed every year on the highways with drunk driving. I want you to take care of yourselves. There's not one of you in that room who doesn't know which of your friends drinks too much. There's not one of you that doesn't know which of your friends needs to quit smoking dope. There's not one of you in there that doesn't. You know your friends. And here's the part for me. I'm a campus minister in my volunteer work. And when you don't listen to me, I have to do your memorial services. I've buried 7 students so far, 6 of them alcohol and drug related. The last one I did at Oregon State, we all sat around LaSalle Stewart Center. There were 1,200 people there. I had my robes on. And I said, does anyone have anything to say before we have a benediction? And some tough guy said, how could this happen? How it happens is easy, because we talk about being friends and we talk about loving one another, but we don't behave like we do. Meanwhile, the person you don't want to be is the person at the memorial service when the mother comes up and says, did you know Tommy had a drinking problem? And you have to either say yes and tell her why you didn't do anything, or no and lie. And women, please, if you have a friend that came to college and was 160 pounds and healthy and now weighs 87, she either has cancer or an eating disorder. When are we going to step up and realize that we are our brothers and sisters' keepers? I want you to take care and live free from dependence on alcohol and other drugs. If you have a drinking problem or a drug problem, you won't be hired by UPS. You won't be hired by Arrowhead Credit Union. You won't be hired by Chipotle, Jack in the Box, Mattel, or any other company that I'm aware of, because they want people who live drug-free. Number 7, I want you to be free from dependence on alcohol and other drugs. Number 8, I want you to let go your anger at your parents. You can't really be a leader. You can't get on with the rest of your life if you're angry at your parents for something they did when you were in 6th grade. You need to let that go. I grew up in a home with a divorced home, so this isn't a lecture on divorce. It's not a lecture on that, but it's about the fact that some of you grew up in tough situations. I used to tell my students, call your parents tonight and thank them for what they've done. And then a little red-haired girl came up to me from Springfield College in Massachusetts, and she said, I'm not calling my dad. And I said, okay, why? And she said, because my dad forced me to have sex with him from the time I was 12 till I left for college. Some of you have been abused. Some of you have been ignored. But you can't fly with wings like eagles if you've got a weight on your back. You can't become a leader if you're still mad at your dad for something, leaving your mom when you were in 4th grade. When my wife and I got married, our 4 parents in the front row of that church in Yosemite National Park, December 22nd, 1979, had 14 marriages between the 4 of them. My wife and I have been married for 33 years. She calls it the happiest 10 years of her life. I'm thinking it's the last 10. Maybe it's just an hour here or a month there. But the reality is you can break the chains of the past, but you've got to either let it go and get on with your life. Remember, I didn't say get over it. You have to get on with your life, or call your parents tonight and thank them for doing a good job. It'll freak them out. Pick up the phone. One time I was at Cal State University, San Bernardino, where Mark Hartley is the director of student development. They've got it's California's most diverse campus, wonderful campus, and they're really making first-generation students feel welcome and get degrees. And I was speaking, and we had a kid come up on the stage and call his mom. Well, we all have stereotypes, and I guess I was thinking that everybody that was Hispanic would speak Spanish. So we had this kid come up, and he goes, Dr. Kamm, I'm going to have to speak to my mom in Spanish because she only speaks Spanish. I am sorry. And I said, never apologize for that. Your mom spoke Spanish. You speak Spanish and English. Your kid should have 4 languages. He goes, wow, dude. So he called his mom, and he was speaking to her, and the crowd started going, oh, ooh, oh. So I went over to this little Hispanic girl. I said, what is he saying? And she said, I don't speak Spanish. And this little blonde-haired girl with pigtails came out and go, I speak Spanish. And I realized, even I have stereotypes. We all do. And I said, what's he saying? His mom said, when your dad left me with the three of you, I thought I was not only undesirable as a woman, but the worst mother in the world. And now what you've told me will allow me to live, because I've been thinking about taking my life because I just didn't feel worthy. And now I've realized you've given me the greatest gift by thanking me. You have no idea what it would mean if you picked up the phone and called your parents. And if you can't do that, then I want you to begin the process today by getting on with your life, not getting over it, but getting on with your life. And by the way, if you need some help, go see a counselor. And if you see one of your friends come out of the counseling office, I don't want you to go, ooh, I didn't know Steve had problems. The only people that don't have problems all live in the same place, and it's called the cemetery. We all have problems. My real dad died 3 months before I was born. My stepdad was an alcoholic. I was sexually molested when I was 8 years old in a department store on Branca Avenue in Covina, California, where I grew up. That's how life is, okay? It didn't destroy me because I got help. And if it didn't kill you, it can make you stronger. I want you to let go your anger at things in the past and fly free with wings like eagles. Number 9, you want to be a leader? You need to know the key to success, and I do. You want to know it? The primary key to success in college? Find something you love to do and learn to do it well enough that somebody will pay you to do it. Most of the jobs you guys are going to have haven't even been invented yet, because 95% of the scientists that have ever lived are alive right now. You can't believe the amazing things that are going to... I saw a guy the other day talking into his wristwatch on a phone. That was a comic story, Dick Tracy, when I was a kid. The whole world is changing. The internet is clearly the equivalent of the Gutenberg press in the 1500s. Who knows what Bill Gates, Dell, and the fellas are going to come up with next? Who knows what you're going to invent? But you got to find something you love to do and learn to do it well enough that, by the way, all the companies that are supporting this that we mentioned earlier, they're going to train you the way they like to do things anyway. You know what they're looking for? They're looking for exciting, dynamic, well-rounded people who love to learn. That's what they're looking for. They're not looking for 4.0 nerds that can't interact with people. They've got to spend 60 hours a week with you. Be a well-rounded person and sell yourself to these companies and let them know that you're optimistic and hopeful about the future, and they will welcome you into their communities, welcome you into their teams. That's the secret of life, is to find something you love to do and learn to do it well enough that somebody will pay you to do it. I get paid, not today because I'm volunteering. Mark Hartley is awfully good at getting me to volunteer. God bless you, Mark. I'm volunteering today because I believe in Circle of Change, but every place else I get paid to speak. Can you imagine that? This is my job. What do you love? Last year, the United States of America spent $150 billion on alcohol and imported 150 metric tons of cocaine. Do you know why? Because 4 out of 5, that's 80% of the people in the last national survey said they hate their jobs. The reason people have to sedate themselves every night is because they don't like what they're doing. Don't be like them. Find something you love to do. And people say, well, money makes you happy. Money doesn't make people happy. What makes people happy is being needed. What makes people happy is feeling that what they're doing matters. And I'd rather be rich and happy than poor and happy, but the reality is I'm needed by my family. I'm needed by my students. My granddaughter the other day, she said, Grandma won't give me candy. I said, don't ask Grandma for candy. Ask Grandpa. You can have as much candy as you want. And the little thing grabbed my legs and she goes, Grandpa, you're my best friend. That's all I need. I'm needed. That's what you find your passion. And lastly, the most important thing you need to know if you want to be a leader. And remember, I've asked you, we've defined leadership as the process of persuasion and example by which an individual or leadership team induces a group to take action that is in accord with the leader's purposes or the shared purposes of all. We've talked about the importance of scholarship, and we've talked about service, and we've talked about being peacemakers and men and women of character and sexually responsible. We've talked about spiritual realities. We've talked about the fact that you need to be free from dependence of alcohol and other drugs, that you need, most of all, to let go of the past and look to the future and be hopeful. I've told you the secret of college life, to find what you love, your passion, and learn to do it well enough that somebody will pay you to do it. But the most important thing I need to tell you is this: 25,000. 25,000. 25,000. What is it? It's the number of days you had left the day your blessed mother gave birth to you. The day you were born, you had 25,000 days left. Now here's the kicker. The youngest one of you in here has already spent 6,500 of your 25,000 days getting to the Circle of Change conference at California State University, Dominguez Hills. The reality is 1/4 of your entire life is over. How's it going? And right now, the older than average students and the professionals are going, wow, I better think about this. You bet we all should. I've only got 10,000 days left. But those of you that are traditional age students, you've got 18,500 days left to make a masterpiece. You are great, young men and women. Your computer skills are much better than my generation. You speak more languages than my generation, and you get along with diverse people better than my generation did. You've got a lot of things going for you. The one thing you don't have is as much time as you think you do. You say, well, my life hasn't started yet. No, your life started the day you were born, and about a quarter of it for the youngest of you is already over. I'll be 60 years old on April 3rd this year. And I'm excited about it. I always thought 60-year-old guys were decrepit and old people and couldn't do anything. I'm fine. I'm in better shape now than I've been since I was a college baseball player. But I'm over the hill. I'm over the hill. And I can see the finish line. And that's why I know it's so important to take each day and live it fully. To take each day like you would a lemon and squeeze every drop of it out if you want a good lemonade. To take life and live it fully. Life is a one-ticket ride. This isn't a dress rehearsal. And that's why the people like UPS, like Arrowhead Credit Union, like Chipotle, like Jack in the Box, like Mattel, that's why it's so wonderful that they have actually paid it forward and tried to provide an opportunity for you to realize you are setting the banquet table right now for the glorious feast you're going to eat the rest of your life. My promise to you is this. Each of you will get a copy of this CD, DVD to take home to show on your campuses, in case you forget. Each of you can have my help as long as I'm alive getting where you need to be. But more important than me right now are all those people that are at the conferences, your peers who you can network with and create businesses. And go to the booths of the sponsors and meet the people and take the brochures and give them your business card and get theirs, because you are clearly right now at Circle of Change setting the banquet table for the glorious feast you're going to eat the rest of your life. I can't wait to grow old in a world you guys are in charge of. You're going to fix a lot of the things my generation didn't get right. God bless you, take care, and we'll see you soon.